The adventure begins. We're moored off from the stunning shores of Studland Bay, ready to bid farewell to the iconic chalk stacks of Old Harry Rocks. But before we can set sail the next day, a small task, diving under Kamara to free the prop from some tangled weed. The beautiful dusk mood is only broken by the usual motorboater that thinks a 5-knot limit doesn't apply to them. But with them scampering back to harbour, it leaves the sailors to enjoy a stunning sunset. That was quick. Our Beneteau 323 Kamara is pointed south and we're setting our sails to cross the English Channel for Roskoff, France. It's always a mix of excitement and a little bit of nerves as we leave the UK coastline behind and head into the sometimes hectic seas of the Channel. Hi everybody, it's the 20th of June and we're making way for Roskoff. This will be our longest single passage ever. It's about 147 miles, something like that. So we set off from Studland this morning at 6. Hope to get past the traffic separation zone just as the tide starts to turn, and then we'll bear about 220 degrees down towards Roskoff, sail overnight and arrive there sometime tomorrow morning. Conditions, as you can see, are very still and calm. There's big high pressure coming. The wind's supposed to fill in a little bit later, but we have got about 7 knots of wind, but we're motor sailing for now just to keep our average speed up so we hit all the key tide points that we need to. So this is the start of what we hope is going to be a 3 or 4 week cruise down into Brittany. We're hoping to get round the Canal de Batz and into Brest, and we'll see where we go from there. But we're going to push on for the first few days and then slowly start to make our way backwards. But for now, it's a glorious day and we'll catch up with you later. The wonders of AIS, backed up by our trusty hand-bearing compass, guided us through the edge of the shipping lanes mid-channel. Well, 12 hours in, a quick update. Yeah, we've done 60 miles, so we've averaged 5 knots. We had to motor sail for quite a large proportion. Engine's off now, and sailing, wind's behind us, just off to the stern, and the seas come down and the tide's just turning and gonna take us. Over in the background we've got Albany and the Cascades. We can just see Guernsey off in the distance, and we're just starting to bear down towards Roskoff at about 220 degrees. Got a couple of hours to go before it starts to get dark, so we're going to get something to eat, settle in, get ourselves ready for the night shift. As dusk falls, the real magic begins. It's 9 o'clock, we're about to go into our night watches. In fact, it's 9:30. Carmen's going to do the first 3 hours. It's almost the longest day, so that should give her daylight for most of that stint. I'll then take over from 12:30 to 3:30, and then by the time Carmen gets up again, it should be coming light. Apparently this whole area is very, very quiet for shipping traffic. We certainly haven't seen anything for a couple of hours now, so hopefully it will stay that way. Anyway, on to the night. Just after midnight, it's a pretty clear sky. Waves are still rocking and rolling. Wind's back up to 16, but Carmen's been out here for 3 hours. She hasn't seen a single vessel, which I think I've certainly never experienced that before. Anyway, just started my 3-hour watch. Going to take us through to 3:30 and then hand back, hopefully just before the sun starts to rise. Then Carmen can get us heading in towards Roskoff. What an uneventful night. Boat count 1 for a whole night. It's coming up 7 o'clock, the sun's peeking its way above the clouds just behind me, and France is in the background over there, about 5 hours out from Roskoff. Just trying to slow down a little bit actually. I want to arrive nearish high tide, or certainly not when the tide's running fast. I've heard it can be a little tasty going into the quay. That's certainly what I saw from watching Sailing Hiem when they went in, so I'm going to try and avoid that if I possibly can. Easy sail most of the way. We're about 5 hours out from Roskoff heading in, and there's thunderstorms coming across the tip, so I think we're going to get hit definitely with rain. Just preparing, putting some things in the oven, handheld radio, tablet, just so that we've got some nav and radio should the worst happen. Not rushing into it, hoping it's going to pass to the north of us, but at the moment, as you'll see, it's right in front at the odd rumble of thunder. So close to Roskoff, and yeah, we're about 16 miles away. The rain's just started. Haven't had any thunder for about 30 minutes now, so I'm optimistic. Looks a little brighter over there, some patches. You know how these cells break out. Could come anywhere, so we filled away the Genoa, just running on the main sheet, doing about 4 knots. Don't want to arrive at Roskoff too early because this storm's going to pass over us, so I don't want to be there then, and also I need to arrive at slack tide. So yeah, making progress, but it's definitely a little bit of an adventure at the end of this sail. And just like that, the thunderstorms swept north, bringing the rugged coastline of Brittany into view. A very welcome sight after the long night. The journey's been a test of our developing skills, and the feeling of accomplishment as we line up the harbour entrance is very satisfying. We tune into the local radio traffic, check the ferry timetable to reassure us for a straightforward entry, and keep an eye on the harbour lights. With a bit of fuel drunk getting here, we opt to top up at the fuel dock, immediately to the right as you enter the marina. But as we line up, a familiar vibration tells us that we've picked up more weed on the prop. Quickly lift it on. After filling, keeping the revs low, we shape up for a berth, and with the tide about slack now, there is no running current to knock us offline. That pesky seaweed's cleared for a second time, and then we're free to check in at the ferry port before a very big surprise. Roskoff is absolutely lovely. I'd expected a semi-industrial large town more akin to Calais or Cherbourg. Instead, we were shocked to discover a small historic town with all the beauty you'd expect of a Brittany fishing port. It just happens to have a cross-channel ferry tucked around by the marina. Whilst we were keen to push around the corner to La Baraque, we needed to recharge our own battery, so opted to hop on the ferry across to the Ile de Batz, taking cider, bread and cheese with us for a beach picnic. Yeah. Brittany had been quick to remind us of its charms, but the wind switched to westerlies for the coming week. We decided that beating around two of the most notorious tidal races, wind over tide, was not a smart or a fun plan. Instead, we opted to follow the winds to begin exploring the Côte de Granit Rose. We waited for the turning tide, slipped lines and began the short sail across the bay to Treburden. Just a lack of wind and a rolling swell limited the joy on this crossing. We were timing our arrival for high tide so that we could access the landlocked pool of Treburden. This would be our first time experiencing the slightly unnerving entrance to a harbour like this. But as usual, with the help of a good pilot book, the really super Mare Info tidal app and some sensible planning, it turned out rosy and less terrifying than we'd expected. Mind you, seeing the rocks when the tide fell made sure that complacency stayed well in check. Next time, we soak up the sun, get landlocked again in Paris Guérec, before hiking around their coast path, and then anchor down river from Tréguier before coming ashore at this medieval gem. Join us next time. Click like or subscribe to follow our 3-week cruise around Brittany. Thanks for watching.